Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady.
Hello, I'm David Sabio.
And here I am, I promised.
Welcome to the garden.
And I pulled in, I was on a Zoom, of course, and my breath was taken away. The garden looks amazing. So let me turn the camera around.
It has been a nice spring. You picked a good day. In fact, I don't know if anyone won the $1 billion jackpot last night, but I think you got the lottery today. Very few people seem to see the garden at this point. It changes daily, but most of the tours seem to come a little later. Today should be, if I can say so, maybe a little special.
Oh, it's special, y'all. I've been stalking him on Instagram, and I'm like, what day this week are you home? So we did it.
And this is about the only day I have. It's been pretty busy, so we'll make the most of it and get around the garden and just see how beautiful it is coming along. It is, spring is on us.
And I'm just anticipating that this is going to be multiple videos. So just going to go ahead and say that right now in the intro. All right, let me turn the camera around.
We'll enter the garden here. It's my famous little sign that I've done years ago when the yard became a garden, and thus the garden. Do have a new clematis that I added here to go on this. This is Snow Queen. The hope is it'll, you know, carry around the sign, but also climb up into Kasagiyama. So I'll have these nice big white blooms against this kind of coppery rose. I'm hoping that'll look really nice.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if you remember last year, I think it was, we were talking about this sort of little corner here, that it's probably one spot in the yard that I could almost say is full sun, certainly during summer, because there's really no full sun with all the trees and shrubs. But it's growing, it's looking good. And I call it sort of the cool curve, because there's a lot of heat that comes in here, and so I pick up on that with the warmth of like the Sagiyama and the Hukura, but all these plants have a coolness to them. You know, the blue-green glaucous foliage. This is morning lilac, which will open here soon, which is big purple blooms. Ujuga, this is another new clematis, Blue Boy. This is kind of more of a shrubby kind, so I have these nice light lavendery blue blooms. I just added Bull's wallflower, recommendation from Renee at Garden Supply of Cary. I had a hole, so that's going to be perfect, I think. So anyway, I kind of like the contrast, the idea of that it gives an idea of coolness despite all the heat and light, and also tolerates that heat and light. So this is a fairly new bed, little garden within the garden, which I'm a huge fan of. This cypress, Carolina Sapphire, lower branches were getting a little ratty, which is not atypical. So just to shape it up, I do prune it, which I don't mind so much of this, but I got the bad branches off. And then I had a bunch of garden space, which was exciting, but it's also then, well, what's the challenge? I know a little filled in area. I would imagine by mid-spring, everything could be touching. You won't even see the ground. But just a lot of fun, exciting colors and elements and texture, and you know, both coming and going. So I see something here that's pretty exciting. And there's always a race, I think, at the beginning of spring is what's going to be first. Guernsey cream, once again, is first with the clematis. I was a little unsure about this. One of my posts last year is I really dealt with a lot of clematis wilt last year. I don't necessarily know what causes it. I have my ideas, but a lot of my clematis suffered last year to the point that I wasn't sure Guernsey cream was coming back. You can see she's not quite as tall this year, but there are blooms that have come in, and she is once again raced to the top to claim the first show in the garden. But you can see here, coming up here is tie-dye. Now this is a very fun and very vigorous vine, which is why I love it growing up this Chamaecyparis. But last year I had 3 strands that went up, covered in blooms, and the day they opened, the vine collapsed. So it was very disappointing. It just kind of comes with it. I don't have a solution yet. If you do, certainly let me know. But this died all the way to the ground, and I was sure this was gone as well. But you can see it's pushed. So I have a winter project that I worked on here. You know I love stones. Most of the stones are collected, but this stone here is a split stone I got from Bob Simchok. And I had a Dobbs frosted juniper, which is like this here. Great plant, but this one was a little taller and was just really competing with this. The look together was nice, but I was gonna have to keep cutting it. So I thought I'll just transplant it, which I have. It's up in the upper woodland right now and doing good so far. But I wanted to keep the border edge, strengthen it, but have something quite interesting that would still work with the rest of the scenery. So I set the stones, filled the crevices in, and then just took little plants to fill them in that I hope creep around and keep filling in. So I have this nice rock structure that even in the sort of more quiet season of winter still looks awesome. I will eventually have this stone light wired in, which will give a little more show for the evening. But very, very happy with the way this came out. I think it looks good, continues the aesthetic I'm after. So as we come around the patio, this spring border here is always so fun to me. It's just chock full of to be honest with you, it ends up being more texture than it is blooms, but it's in there and it's just fun to see. It's just a menagerie of ephemerals. But we have these trilliums, these crazy clumps. I assume maybe it's maculatum, but they were rescues from a property out in Durham. But I do have I believe this with the little grandiflora, maybe, like robin. Got the great texture of Acer palmatum tattoo, one of the smallest Japanese maples. I get about an inch of growth each year. Got the Mocdinia, more trilliums, the hosta coming up. Got the Lilify epimedium here. I've had this clump for a while. It's very happy in this spot. Looks so great with these little buttery daffodils. And then this freak of a trillium clump. I have no explanation for it. I'm even afraid to divide it because I feel like it's the kind of thing that would lead to its collapse. But I would love to have more of that around. We'll see, but that's nuts. There's so much to see and get excited about. So I was saying you kind of hit the lottery today. This is one of my newest tree peonies that just happens to be opening today. I don't know a lot about this. I found this at a garden center in PA. Tried looking it up. Almost no information other than one mention in a Peony Society paper from like the 1920s or 30s. But the name is Kocho no Mai. It means Dance of the Butterfly. I did have an Instagram friend give me a little background that it's from a province in Japan that was found as a natural hybrid. That's all cool, doesn't matter, it's in my garden. Very unique bloom, not as large as some of the other tree peonies, but it looks like, these frilly ends, looks like a flame. This will open a little bit more probably as the sun comes across. It'll be a little more cupped and then close up again in the evening. But 3 blooms this year, not bad for its second season in the ground. I'm just happy it's alive. This has amazing potential for years of just stunning beauty, and I look forward to it. Okay, so as exciting as that is, and it is, I mean that's fantastic because it's really unique. But one of my very special plants, you got to come see. And you time this right, because no one ever gets to see this. This is my oldest tree peony. This is Shima Nishiki Fire Flame, Peonia fruticosa. This I have been growing for 20 years. It was given to me as a gift back in 2003 from my supervisor at a temp job I had, because we would talk in the lab about our interest in Japanese maples. Again, I was really new to gardening. And he said he saw this online, he bought one for me. It was like 3 inches in like a 4-inch pot. I had heard of peonies, tree peony, had no idea. But looking at the picture, I was like, this has to be near the house, so I tried growing it in a pot. Did okay until I started to see it begin to rot. I can't believe I rescued it. I got it out and eventually got it to the ground. And this was a plant that took some patience. As I started to finally get some height, more leaves, but it took a few years to bloom. But this is pretty regular these days. These huge, gorgeous, variegated blooms, but you get a branch that's not almost as all pink, or fuchsia. I've got a really amazing trunk now with a lot of new branches coming up. So as long as nothing hurts this plant, years to come, I should have just a enormous display. I hear people talk about 50+ blooms. I can only imagine, but I do look forward to it. I'm happy with this. So if you've seen the previous videos, I'm a clematis geek as well, along with the Japanese maples. And they're easy to tuck in everywhere when you start to see limited space, because they'll find their way. But around me, you probably don't realize it yet, but I'm sort of surrounded by it. So you see the tree peony. Well, there are 2 different clematis running through this now, that when these blooms, which are so short-lived, fade, her second life will be breathed into it when they come into bloom. So there's Saison and Lady Kyoko here. We have pink champagne that then will run through this screaming yellow of the little honey hydrangea. So you get this really nice contrast. Is Josephine, which is now sending up tons of runners as she's gotten stronger and healthier. So you'll get that bodacious multi-pink bloom against the variegated yellow and green of this. This is my other tree peony that has already faded, but you can see I have a runner here. It's going to come up into here, so it'll kind of bloom again, if you see what I'm after. So it's just a nice way to keep carrying some interest, actually literally through the garden. So this little peninsula here, it's been here for a while, but I did a fairly drastic change last year. If you were to look at an old video or maybe one of my posts, there used to be another Japanese maple here called Jiro Shidari. Kind of had a crazy week to it and it was pushing out. And I'm not one, I don't mind pruning. I enjoy it, but I don't want to be hacking at a plant to make it really what it's not. But it was beginning to reach out over both sides. I do need to have some passage. So I'd been contemplating moving it anyway, as risky as it was, because it was pretty big and established. But it's working so far, and we'll see that in a minute. But I got a more upright Japanese maple, so I got the other one out. This won't fill the space as much. Certainly if it does, it'll be up above me and not across me low. So then again, I opened up some opportunity. So I have filled in with a few more plants, a couple of new epimedium. This is a patch that I've had for a while now. I moved to hosta here, which, knock on wood, the voles don't find, because I do deal with that. Just some little smaller plants to kind of fill in underneath. And just gonna be fun, and I'm hoping all that starts to touch and there's no ground to see.
Ground plane coverage.
So this front border here, for a good portion of the day, maybe minus right now when the sun's right overhead, this kind of stays shaded. So there's a lot of green and gives it a nice coolness as well. But to sort of break that up is these punches of color. Particularly, I love this, who is my favorite new heuchera. It's Red Lightning. It seems like I only ever find one at a time, but when I do, I grab it. It's, I believe, of the Velosa strain, so it does well here. Doesn't seem to heave quite as bad. I mean, when it does, it has come back. This is the 3rd and 4th year, I think, for most of these. Although this is a Hookerella here, gold zebra, but it had a similar look. So again, so amongst all the coolness, especially as you go towards the shade, this just kind of punches, you know, a little visual shock at you that I enjoy. Kind of breaks up the wall of green. But again, what I was after was lots of different texture and those little hints of color, like the little bit of yellow that'll come on the fresh growth of Dobbs Frosted. All right, well, thanks for watching, at least taking a look at the front. We are about to head to the back where it's going to be about 10 degrees cooler, which would be a nice reprieve from this heat. But stay tuned, and tomorrow you'll get to see what's going on out back.